Chiefs and Ravens will square up, and the Kansas City Chiefs opened a 2.5-point favorite at home. The reigning back-to-back champions try to become the first team in the Super Bowl era to win 3 in a row. And the Chiefs are a 3-point favorite, depending which book you look at. They're favored by 3. The wise guys are on the side of the Ravens, the sharp bettors on the side of the Ravens, and the public also thinking the Ravens are the way to go. And you look at some of the numbers here coming into this game, the Ravens as a dog have been very prolific for those that like to put a couple of shekels down on a game, as Lamar Jackson as a dog in his career has a great record against the spread. But speaking of Lamar, the curtain, as we mentioned, beginning here, the 2024 championship season. So in the next 157 days, we will have 272 regular season games played on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and if there are some kind of weird weather events, Wednesday or Tuesday. No game scheduled for Wednesday and Tuesday, though. The entire postseason will be played in the next 157 days, plus all those regular season games, and the wrap-up, Super Bowl 59. And Lamar Jackson, one of the biggest stars, he'll be in action tonight, and he explained his dilemma entering the new league year. And if you didn't see this, perhaps not, the Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, haunted, he said, remains haunted by the one thing that he cannot seem to do. He said, quote, "I haven't gotten a Super Bowl yet. That's the only thing that bothers me," close quote. Now, Jackson bemoaned that even if he does win a Super Bowl, it doesn't matter. People are still going to criticize him, which is correct. He pointed out LeBron James and Michael Jordan and other stars that have won, and the critics still continue. But let us discuss Lamar Jackson and his recent comment that not reaching a Super Bowl is the only thing that bothers him, is going to haunt him. So what exactly is missing? What is the missing ingredient for the Ravens? So I've got Pep Boys, cigarette lighter, and French. And we'll combine all of these things together, and we will provide the answers. We have all the answers. We have the headphones. We have the microphone. All the answers your heart desires. So to kick off here, this one is an Occam's razor situation. The simplest answer is the right answer when it comes to this. And if you look at the secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices, Lamar Jackson is the missing ingredient because the guy that shows up in playoff games is an imposter. It's not. It's like they changed the recipe when the playoffs come around. Playoffs! And so he's got this blind spot in postseason games. Is he just not built for playoff football? Every part of the Baltimore Ravens has been good enough to win a title for multiple years with Lamar Jackson. And yet, they can't get it done. When you go and look a little closer, it's like Lamar needs to go to Pep Boys. Look under the hood there. That V8 engine is missing some spark plugs when it gets down to big game situations. 2-4 in the playoffs in 6 career playoff games, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 6 fumbles for Lamar Jackson. It is the catchphrase from that game show back in the day, "You are the weakest link. Goodbye." And that's what normally happens in playoff games. At some point, normally it's the first game, sometimes the second game, the voice comes out of the heavens and says, "You are the weakest link. Goodbye." All right, now furthermore, we go now to Dallas. That is where the Cowboys have listed their depth chart, and Zeke Elliott is QB number 1. Actually, no, he's running back number 1, but he is the running back 1 there, not QB 1. Zeke Elliott back on the depth chart there. So here's the question. Cowboys make the announcement. Now, a lot of teams downplay the depth chart. They say it's not that big a deal. The Cowboys are one of those teams, but they have listed Zeke Elliott as running back number 1 on the depth chart. So is the glass half full or is the glass half empty in this regard? So for Zeke Elliott, it's a new lease on life. You can go home again. Doesn't mean it's going to go well, but for the Cowboys on the other side, it's half empty, cracked, and can I get some Pepto-Bismol because I got a little nausea. I've got some heartburn. I think there's some indigestion going on right there and an upset stomach. Believe so, right? And Dallas, I love this story because they got rid of Zeke Elliott. They made the right move. They determined that he was not going to be an effective running back in the NFL anymore, that he was serving up slop at the soup kitchen, so they got rid of him. So he goes to New England, and he's mostly a backup with the Patsies. He then proves the Cowboys' hypothesis was correct. He has his last supper with the Patriots, and now he's come back to the Cowboys as a diminished asset. He's the plodding, outdated running back. And the Cowboys have formed the ultimate over-the-hill gang backfield. If only you had a hot tub time machine to go back 5 years or so, boy, you'd be in good shape with Dalvin Cook on one side and Zeke on the other. And get out the cigarette lighter, Grandma, because you might want to start burning some sage at this point here to change the mojo in the running back room. That said, Cowboys and Browns, a big game on Fox this weekend, and Tom Brady will be there. Will that be his only game on Fox? Is he going to run off to the Raiders? Who knows? But Zeke will be there and see what happens. The Browns have their own issues with the creepy quarterback, the massage enthusiast, Mr. Deshaun Watson. All right, last thing here. I'm going to pivot away from the NFL game and go to a very popular person for television executives, a look through the looking glass at Deion Sanders, at good old Deion Sanders. So a recent report, I don't know if you saw this or not, highlighted the culture that Deion Sanders has put in and established at Colorado. So I read this the other day, and I don't know if I'm going to bring it up. It's a couple days old, and I was like, and then something else popped up, and I was like, wait a minute. Now, this was not a puff piece. It was not. It was a report by Athlon Sports that said Colorado players have been encouraged by Deion Sanders to fight each other on campus. Like, they have a beef, just start fighting. Throw some haymakers. That's how you do it. Now, I bring this up because the story has developed a surveillance video. Maybe you've seen it, maybe not. A surveillance video is making the rounds that captured a former Buffalo's assistant coach fighting with a graduate assistant at Colorado in the middle of the campus. Surveillance video. Caught on tape. You talk about chutzpah. That's a lot of chutzpah. All right, so how much trouble is Deion Sanders facing over the allegations of a football culture gone bad at Colorado? So the answer at this point in the story, and we've got a lot of work to do, get through the book here, a lot of chapters, a lot of pages to get through, but at this point the answer is zero, right? It's zero. And if you look at the way this is going, excuse my French, but Coach Prime has carte blanche. He does. Right? Until the lawyers get involved, those meddling lawyers. If it wasn't for you meddling lawyers, because if what I saw is accurate, who knows? If somebody might have a out to get Deion situation, they want to attack Deion with their machete, and Deion's too popular, and people are jealous of Deion Sanders. That's also possible. But there is video that shows two people fighting. They claim that this was from the Colorado campus, and these were two people that were involved with the program. So Deion is fine. He's got zero trouble for now. But once the meddling lawyers get involved, if it wasn't for you meddling lawyers, I would have gotten away with it. Then it gets real. Then things get real, and the poopy hits the fan at that particular point. But this is an example of when fiction becomes reality. When fiction becomes reality. If you're old, you might remember this movie way back in the 90s. There was a movie many years ago, a generation ago, called Fight Club. And it was about an underground society of physical combatants who would duke it out. And the first rule of Fight Club is to not talk about Fight Club. Can't do it. Not allowed to do it. That was the Brad Pitt character in Fight Club. So they're not going to talk about it because they can't talk about it, but that's pretty ballsy, man. It's like one thing to say, well, we need to go back to the old school and just, you got a problem. That's probably what Deion did. Although I don't think of Deion as a fighter with the Cowboys or anybody else, but the other guys must have done that. I can see Michael Irvin on those old Cowboy teams getting into a fight to settle the score. I think that did happen many times. But if you look at this from that perspective, so Deion's got to worry about the lawyers here, and it would appear that the Deion clan there, the posse, the group, whatever you want to call it, they need a refresher course here. Because right now you got one anonymous player, you got a coach, a former coach. The former player, actually I think he's currently on the team right now, he said playing football at Colorado, it's like a real-life Grand Theft Auto video game, is the way he described it. Okay. Man, that's wild and crazy. There's no way that'll last because of smartphones and surveillance cameras and all that, but he's getting away with it now, and he's getting a lot of ratings, and Colorado knows when Deion Sanders walks out of that door and his kids walk out, they'll be back to winning 3 games a year, and that'll be that, if they're lucky.